December 14th.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Okay,
this was
here,
September and then,
that's the letter that he wrote from camp after you were born.
so you want me to read this letter?
Well, I don't know, do
Well,
you want her to, or?
I
do
think
you
that'd be
wanna
sweet to
narrate?
have some of it. But I think we might also want to bring in
And how
him
much-
as a character in the film.
I don't know. I know, but it's 5 pages.
Well, just read some of it, you don't have to read all of it.
Well, I'm bad at that. I never know when to cut it off.
That's all right. I can edit later.
All right, so you want to listen to it all? Okay. Let me see. Wait, what's the difference between, is this part of this still? Oh, and this was a Western Union letter he sent on the day they were married. I didn't forget, it's the 25th of April, lots of love, Babe, who's had the nickname
Read
Babe.
it again, 26.
Oh, I'm sorry, the 26th of April, lots of love, Babe. So that's when we were living with my grandparents. But that he sent.
I wanted to add too that our mother did not leave Dennis's parents' house because she wanted to, but in her own home, our Italian grandmother had no means of support, and my mother's brothers had moved out. They had gotten married, and so my grandmother needed help. She needed support. So our mother moved in with our Italian grandmother so that she could help her pay the mortgage and everything. And our grandmother took care of Diane while our mother worked. So it was, it was by necessity that she left
But my
Dennis's
my
parents.
grandparents were crushed because they loved my mother. They were crushed when she left. But she kind of felt she needed to help her family, but that, her husband was gone and this was his parents. That was part of it too. She
Maybe,
felt
yeah.
that she was imposing on, can you say that,
But-
imposing on them?
I can see how that was really hard on them because they really took her in and loved
Oh,
her, and they had
Loved
you.
her,
Yeah.
They loved her continuously. But knowing my mother too, she felt somewhat of a burden now on them with the situation.
Okay.
What'd you say? So you want, all right, this is May 30th, 1943. Dearest, congratulations, honey, on giving birth to the 7.5-pound girl. Ed wrote and told me in the telegram that you had an easy case. Oh, I'm so glad for you, and I'm the proudest boy in camp. Everybody in camp is congratulating me every day, and they think it is so wonderful. The company commander was swell. He did everything he possibly could to try to let me come home on furlough. But the Red Cross and the higher officials said it was not necessary and there wasn't no emergency as you were getting along so well. In a way, I'm glad because at least I know you are okay, and I'd rather stay in camp knowing that you are all right than have to come home because you were ill. Please, darling, keep your chin up and don't be too disappointed because we can get together later on, and I'll get a chance to see you and the baby at the same time. I've been awfully worried about you and have plenty disappointed and
I've been plenty disappointed.
well, he left here yet, and have been plenty disappointed because I couldn't get home, but as long as I know you are okay, it is It's not half bad at all. I know you well. I know you will be well taken care of by everyone, and please try and not be too lonesome for me, because I have a very tough time trying to keep my mind on what I'm doing. I'm always one,
It always wanders.
oh, it always wanders off to you and the baby and how you feel about the whole busy situation. We've got to keep our spirits up, especially now as the
As now is crucial.
the crucial test of telling whether we are brave enough to face the difficulties that face us at the present time. Just assure me that you are going through this ordeal with your head up, and I promise you that I will live up to my end of the bargain. When you have the chance and are able to write me, sweetie, tell me all about the whole affair. I don't know what he meant by that.
The birth.
Oh. Duh. You know, right from this beginning to the end, how your pains began, and was it very painful to give birth to your baby, and what thoughts ran through your mind at the time, and above all, what does our baby look like? Describe it to me as much as possible. I am awfully anxious to find out all of the things, because I've been wondering about them so much, and I wanted to be with you. Oh, so very much at the time when I know you needed me, that I just about go nuts when I think of the whole affair. If there is one time a woman needs her man, that especially is the one time. What you went through, I would never want you to go through again without me near you, and so help me, it won't if I can help it. The strain is too great, and I'm afraid if it happened again, I just crack up. However, everything's okay now, and I feel 100% better, so I think things will go along just as nicely as before. Just don't you worry about me, as you have no cause to whatsoever. Take care of the baby and yourself, and pledge, take care of the baby and yourself, and please, darling, see that nothing happened to either of you, because if it did, I'd surely die. Well, I'll close now and anxiously await the reply to all of my questions, but don't go to any unnecessary efforts to write if you are unable. Remember that I love you both very dearly and cherish you more than life itself. From now on, efforts will be doubled to finish the job we have before us as quick as possible, so we can enjoy the remainder of our lives together. With sincerest love from deep within your daddy, babe. P.S. I suggested if you haven't already, a name, Dolores Lorraine Zabeth.
That was sweet.
Yeah, he wanted that name. And then, I don't know, was this?
That was a poem. That was different.
That's a poem. Okay, we have to turn the poem. Yeah, Dolores Lorraine Zabeth. But I was named Diane Gay Zabeth. G-A-E, because my grandma was Italian, it was Gaetana, so she did the G-A-E, and Dolores was my mom's middle name. But, so I didn't, I didn't get either one, except the Zabeth.
Are there pictures of you as a baby around?
Yeah.
And you were taken there when you were how old? How old were you when you went to visit? Was it Texas? They were
in Texas,
She had to be
What year were you?
almost
What
a
was
year.
your birthday?
May 26, 43.
43.
Yeah, Yeah, almost a year old. She
almost
was-
a year.
And when was the last time your dad had seen your mom?
That might have been,
That might have been.
that might have been it. And then they were shipped over.
But he saw her sometime within the last year at some point.
He came home on leave.
At what? When was that?
When was it?
I'm sorry, I don't know for sure. We have the pictures.
Yes, I thought I heard you say something about New Year's Eve at some point in time.
Oh, in one letter, he's describing when they were dating.
Ah.
New Year's Eve, that's another letter, yeah. And then when he asked her to marry him, and when they,
I think it's a really sweet. I think it'd be very poignant to build your dad's into this and your mom into the storyline, because when we have letters like that from your dad, we don't have any of your mom's letters to him. Do we have any?
no, they were lost on the battlefield, unfortunately, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like they had a real romance. I know he clearly was.
Oh.
Very taken with her.
Deeply in love, yeah.
And my grandma, my dad's mom, idolized my mother. She was a little heartbroken, I think, when she moved out, because she went back to her mom then when he was killed. And I think she was heartbroken because she idolized her.
How long did they get to live as a married couple before he was
What
sent?
would you-
April 26, 1942 to, he was shipped out, I believe, on December
Well, when was-
8th, 1943.
December?
No,
Wait, when would?
December 8th, 1942. They didn't live long as a married couple at all. He was drafted on,
I'm sorry, they got married April 26th, I think you said?
yeah, so.
42.
Mhm.
And he was drafted.
He was
in-
drafted in December of 1942. And he was sent to Camp Claiborne, and he was there in 43. They trained for a long time,
Yeah.
actually, and then sent to Camp House, so. All that training.
We went there, remember?
No.
Did we go there? Where did we walk on
I
the
went-
battlefield?
Oh, you visited Camp Claiborne?
Okay,
Yes, you did.
I knew
yeah.
I knew I walked on the battlefield.
And
My
you
husband
have all
took
the
me
pictures because
Yeah,
I scanned them all for you.
yeah.
I bet your mother, Lorraine, was so surprised because they hadn't been there very long when she got the letter that he had been killed fairly early on.
No, and did I tell you, I might be restating it,
That's all right.
but we were living then with, she
Yeah,
moved
oh,
out
yes.
with my dad's family and went back with her family.
Mhm.
And she was sitting, we were in the living room, there's a picture of me on the floor, I have a picture. But the doorbell rang and she went to the door and took the letter and sat down on the piano bench and then collapsed. And that was the notification that he was killed. And I remember, and I was little, but I remember that. I can picture her doing that. So even though you're little and you don't remember much, some things, I guess, impact you. Yeah, she fell right down off that piano bench onto the floor.
Pat, do you remember when they shipped out on the Monticello after Shanks? Was that kind of November almost?
I believe.
Or
yeah,
late
it was
October?
Late October, yeah.
And then they land in Marseille, and it takes a little while to get all their equipment, get up
Right.
north.
I have the exact dates of everything, but
103rd was attached to the, which like 45th Division? Who were they taking off the line? The 3rd, 36th, 45th? They would have gone in one of those directions. I'm trying to think. Klimbach is towards Barrere. Is that right?
yeah, I have
Or
them.
you don't, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think who they were
I
with.
don't think they were attached. I thought that
Well,
they were separate.
Normally the replacements came in and
Right.
relieved, and there were really 3 different directions that they were going.
Right.
So, for instance, Fred Clinton's, they went towards, no, y'all went towards, they went towards Celestat, right?
Yes.
And then ultimately to Mulhouse, I
Yes.
suppose, and Colmar.
Right.
Okay, so they went that southern route.
How do you know all that?
I wouldn't have known it before, but slowly but
You've been doing research.
yes, for the last
I
2
was gonna
years.
say, boy, you know more than we do.
No, I know big picture stuff and of all of them, as opposed to parts. That's been my goal here, is to try to get the whole thing under command and comprehend it. Because no one's really, I mean, there's some good books, a couple of good books out there about it, but it's taken me a while to get it on my
Well, the
head.
climb to Clumbach, isn't there, yeah, there's a whole story in that. Yeah.
But I'm just struck by the fact that she probably wouldn't have expected to get a letter like that so soon.
No.
This is the map, in case you're interested.
Oh, yes.
That's the routes.
Oh, that's a good one.
The kids got me this.
Let's
Shoot,
get that back
I'm
there.
so
No problem.
sorry.
I'm trying to figure out where.
You wouldn't know I do production.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
As I
You know what kind of foul that was.
I do.
11/4, they're committed to action.
November 4th,
Yeah.
because it took
This-
2 weeks on the boat.
I have the exact dates all written down.
I should have read this before I read it, because I hesitated
Okay.
too much.
All right. They're north of Strasbourg. They're way up there. Okay. They're probably up there fighting with the. I'm trying to think who that is. Maybe the 3rd Division. Let me see where I am on this. I'll have to. Well, you told us a little bit about your dad James before the war. He was unattached. He was a young, 20-year-old?
Yeah.
Or? Oh, I haven't heard about their friendship and how they came to. What do you know about how they came to be friends and what about each other made each other become fast friends?
Dennis and Jim became friends at Camp Claiborne. They were both from Chicago, so there was
Chicago
a natural
boys.
bond. And they were both from the Northwest Side, so it was pretty much the same area. And so they just naturally bonded.
And they double dated.
Right.
My parents were married, but Jim had a girlfriend, and they'd go out in the evening for,
Well, when they came home on leave.
when they came home,
Yeah.
yeah, they would double date.
Now, Dennis was very serious. He was a hard worker. He had goals. Jim was not serious. He was an artist. He sketched. He liked to play the horses. At one time, he worked as a bookie. He liked his Jim Beam and his occasional chaser with Pabst Blue Ribbon. He smoked. Unfortunately, he started smoking when he was 12 years old in the back of the garage or something like that. And then during the war, they used to airdrop cigarettes on the troops. And so he continued to smoke. Unfortunately, that was his demise. He died of lung cancer. But he truly enjoyed smoking. He continued to sketch a bit when he came back from the war, and he had actually obtained a job for a short, brief stint at the Chicago Daily News newspaper, sketching, but that didn't last very long. So I treasure the sketches that I do have that he made, and
Is this a situation of opposites attract, or as far as their friendship goes? I mean, they would have not really gotten to know each other in Chicago, but they got to know each other there.
Because they were in the same division.
I do think that it was a case of a friendship developing with opposites attracting, because you have one young man who is very serious and married with a child on the way, and then a child, and then you have another one who played the field and lived segments of society and everything, you know, so perhaps they saw in each other what the other wanted to be, maybe a little bit, you know, so, anyway, they were best buds.
Well, and did I say that when my dad was hit, you know, because one fell to one side of the road and the other, did I talk about that? And he came over when my dad was hit and said to him, "You lucked out. Now you can go home to your beautiful wife and baby." And he saw him carried off. And then later on, when he found he didn't make it back, you know, my father Jim was devastated then. He never forgave him. He never forgave himself because I forgetting what I told you, but I was driving him to a
Yeah, you said that.
Yes, you did tell that one.
yeah, and he did, because that yes, but I can still hear it in my
I
ears.
bet you can. So now we've discussed more on the friendship. Your mom, you said that she she was really in love with him, and she was devastated by his. You want to tell us? I know that she moves back in with her mother or
Yes.
grandmother. Her mother or
Her mother.
and that her mother took care of you while she worked. Of course, this is a time when a lot of women have entered the workforce to try to help out.
Because the men were gone, they needed people to keep things going in the States.
Did she enter into new employment at that point in time?
Our mother was a whiz with math, and she always found positions as a bookkeeper and worked in that, you know, for her entire life. So she managed. She didn't make a lot of money as a bookkeeper. She didn't make a lot of money as a bookkeeper, but she managed to support us. So
Would you say her income was important to the family's success?
her income was very important to the family's success.
Because when Jim came back, he never really came back. He always regretted that he survived and my dad didn't. And then played on him, and he'd sit up at night listening to what records and drinking his Jim Beam. You know, and like I say, I took him I was driving him to the doctor one time, and I said, "Dad, you know, everything turned out all right. You came home, you married my mom, you gave me a sister and 2 brothers." And he said, "Yes, but," and that in my head spoke volumes. He never forgave himself for surviving.
Pat, have you read up on this? At the time, did the military make any effort to I mean, you got the GI Bill where you're doing all kinds of things for GI. Did they ever think to do anything about psychological counseling and help? And
We don't believe that there was any psychological counseling back then. Perhaps if he had gone to a VA hospital, maybe there were
Oh, yeah.
psychiatrists
Yeah.
there, but it was a hidden problem. And if a soldier admitted that they had any nightmares, regrets, anything about their battle experience, they were more or less looked down upon. You have to remember that this was a time when Patton slapped the soldier for getting, you know, battle fatigue. And I think that was the paramount attitude at that time. You were weak if war affected you. And of course, Jim was the strong guy. He was the police officer. He wasn't weak. So he could never admit that he needed help. And my mother, even if it had been available, probably would not have sought it because she would never want to shame him. So no, there was no help that we know of.
did she ever talk about the struggle One of y'all mentioned that she felt that the war took two husbands, or that neither one of them really came back from it. Well, he wasn't her husband at the time when he came back, but that she kind of took. She sounds like a caretaker. I mean, off the charts. I mean, she cared for.
Our mother was a supreme caretaker, so she took care of the four of us, the children. She took care of her mother-in-law, whom she loved, and also my father's mother, who came to live with us. So she spent her life taking care of everyone, including our father, and she cared for him her whole life until she died. You know, we call the men of World War II, we call them the greatest generation, but in my mind, it's the women who served at home who were also the greatest generation. I don't think we will ever have women of the caliber of the women of World War II. And I also think that when we calculate the casualties of World War II, you know, we think of those who were killed in action and those who were wounded in action, but we don't count the people who were scarred emotionally and psychologically, and we do not count what the effect was and is on the families, on the wives, the sweethearts, the mothers, and most of all the children. And there are long-lasting effects.
Well said. Very well said. That's one of the themes of towards that I wanted to get to towards the end, and you said that, and I agree with you so much. Even though I'm not the children of that. What other things did y'all learn from other children or mothers of once you get involved in the association about PSD, about some other people? I mean, some did well and some didn't. You know, Jim Murphy, Mr. Murphy, he appears to be unaffected by it. Maybe he could just kind of move on. Others like Bob, you know, he's 90 something and he still has nightmares. And he's carried his burden 75 years.
I'm not at liberty to name names, but one of the benefits to me of working with the 103rd Infantry Division of World War II Association is that we were given the opportunity to meet other children of World War II soldiers, and several have similar experiences with their fathers returning home unwhole. And it has been very helpful to be able to share those experiences between one another. Because really, if you're a child of a soldier, where does one go to talk about these things? People don't even think that this exists. Where can you go to? I suppose you could hire your own psychiatrist or something, you know, to delve into it. But so if you can share those experiences with other people who've been through it, then it's great. So I think we've all helped one another.
That's what, like I said, when I asked why there were other children, and I never met any until we got involved with the association. And then I finally found people who also had lost loved ones in the war. And that was like my relief. Okay, there's others who know what it's all about and how it feels. Yeah, that's all I had wanted. Because I used to say, why don't I have a daddy like others? And there were others, just like me. And that's what made me feel good when we joined the group, the World War II veterans.
Oh, one other thing I would like to add is I had mentioned about being interviewed for Stud's book. Jim also found closure. In 1984, he received a telegram from the U.S. Army that he was being awarded the Bronze Star. And in the mail came the box with the Bronze Star. It was totally